Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us to the Cancer Education Series, which is sponsored by Mercy Cancer Center and Above and Beyond Cancer. And this video podcast is produced with support from the Iowa Cancer Consortium. So thanks. We've got a really special evening for you tonight. So this is my friend and patient, Tim Neugent, who we're going to talk about his journey through pancreatic cancer. And as all of you know, no one makes the journey by themselves. And this is part of Team Tim.
That's correct.
And we've got Tim's wife, Diane, and then we've got his sons, Brian and Sean, and daughter, Katie. And we have Danielle, who is married to Sean. And we have Chris, who is married to Katie. There we go. Wow. And this is Teddy. And Teddy is 6 months old, and he's going to steal the show.
Yeah.
So Tim has been on this journey for
Started in January of 19, really.
January of 2019, and the diagnosis came that year.
April.
Yeah, so a diagnosis, not just a little pebble of a bump in the road, but pancreatic cancer. And take us back maybe to that first time you heard someone say you had pancreatic cancer.
I got the call that no one ever wants to get at, I don't know, I think it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was the day before my daughter's birthday, April 27th. And I was told over the phone that they didn't have good news, that I had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So that was, no one wants to get that early call in the morning, or any time for that matter, but that was the first I heard that I had pancreatic cancer. And that was after, having a large gallbladder removed, and that's what I thought I was feeling sick over, but it ended up being pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, and that first month, it was like bad news after bad news as we kind of got the scans, and it's not resectable, and it has spread. And obviously, we've come out in a good position here, but don't mean to bring everybody down, but part of this journey is, when you're first told, and you don't have to do much Googling when you go get stage 4 pancreas cancer. So I'm interested, Diane, maybe go to you next. And again, we're gonna talk about some positive things as we go along, but that first month or so when the news was coming about the stage 4 pancreas cancer, and maybe some thoughts you might have to yourself that you weren't always. And I'm interested in how much you guys shared the prognosis and the worry, and how much you sort of kept it to yourself and put on a happy face for Tim and going, we're going to get through this. Do you remember back then what you thought and how you managed your fear and anxiety?
Well, I was standing next to Tim. It was a Friday morning when we got the call, and I mean, you're just in shock, just in shock. And then it's like, how do we tell the kids? And Katie's birthday was the next day, and so we ended up making those calls. And I remember talking to one of my friends saying, I can't lose him. I just can't lose him. But that was the only time that I had that thought. I always had a positive feeling about it. And we really, as a family, a close family, we really shared everything, and the kids we couldn't have done it without the kids.
Yeah, truly a team.
Oh.
Anyone else want to share, remembering back your first finding out the news and your first thought and trying to decide how you were going to handle it and how you were going to interact with Dad?
I think I teach second grade, and I was at school, and we weren't. I think that we knew he had an appointment or something, or that the news, and I had called my mom, and she was like, "We'll just talk about it later." And I knew, and I said, "Tell me now," because she tends to want to not worry us. But I knew something was wrong, and so she told me, and of course I lost it. And my teaching partners called my husband. He came and picked me up and went over there, and then I called my brothers right away, and everybody came over, and then Sean had called Danielle, and we just all right away banded together. Like, as much as I think we were all super fearful, and when you hear, like you said, when you hear pancreatic cancer, you think it's not, we're not going to have him much longer. And I think that was a huge fear, but both of them are the most faith-filled people and so positive. And I do remember my dad saying, "I've led this amazing life and there's nothing that I regret." And like, that's the first thing he said to us. And it was just, we all remember those moments, and I don't know, they're both so positive and have given us that gift of being faith-filled and positive. And my mom was a rock through this entire thing. I mean, she was amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. And so I don't know, I just think we were, of course, fearful at first, but then it was like, okay, what are we going to do now? Like, what's our next step? How are we going to do all of this? And I think we just, as a family, banded together, and that was our thing.
Anyone else want to share the memories of first finding out that Dad had pancreas cancer?
Yeah, I remember everything. Katie had called me, and I remembered the phone call, and immediately called my bosses and said, "Hey, I can't come in. I'm not coming in today. I got some things with the family going on," and kind of elaborated. And they said, "That's fine." I rushed over, and I think Katie was already there, and then Sean and Danielle showed up. And I mean, my dad, he essentially gave the speech to all of us over and over and over again. It's like, I've led a full life. I couldn't have asked for more. If this is my time, then this is my time. If this is what God wants, and this is what God wants. And, hearing those words with such a finality to it, I mean, I think we all cried a lot that day. I think I even remember telling my mom I didn't want to go to my second job that night, and she said, "You need to go. If you sit home, you're just going to stew." And, their attitude with, just us growing up and everything was, take everything in stride and keep, moving forward with a positive outlook. And, that demonstration from them, I think, cascaded to us, and we just, yes, it was tough, but we knew that as a family unit together, that whatever came our way, we'd be able to handle. So I think that's what we kept building that foundation on for all of us, at least for me. So,
Any other thoughts about that very first at the beginning?
I think, I don't think you can ever forget that day when we got the call, and I just remember going over, and my dad, like Brian said, gave us that talk, and I don't know, I've always been, I think my wife would say that to a fault, I'm always incredibly positive about things, and that day I still, it didn't really hit me for a little while. What did hit me was, I figured, I lived over 30 years with my dad. I knew him really well. But my kids, Finn is 6 and Owen was a newborn at that time, right? So, that was the toughest part of all that for me, was the fact that I didn't know if they would really get to remember
Right. Owen
their
might
grandpa.
not have Grandpa in his memories when he gets old.
So, and just from growing up myself, I never got to meet my mom's parents, and so that was really tough on me more than anything.
Yeah. And then I remember you were in the hospital, it seems like a month at least. There were some 5 weeks, yeah, and it wasn't all happiness and light during those 5 weeks, and eventually, it was not going to be able to do surgery, and so we came up with a plan, and the plan was chemo and radiation, and we sort of outlined the plan. We sort of, as I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked realistically about the diagnosis, the stage, the prognosis, and then we move forward with hope and optimism that things were going to be as good as they can be. And from that point forward, we talked about every scan openly and honestly. And I think from that point forward, we never had a meeting where you didn't tell me a joke. So you decided to approach this realistically, but that this was a relationship, and we didn't have time to just cry in our beer every day, and we needed to have a little bit of levity. And you are a great storyteller, and I know it gives you great joy to tell some stories and jokes. So that kind of became our shtick, is that every time we'd meet, we'd start to do the medical stuff, but we wouldn't ever end without a joke. So why don't we start with a joke?
That's a great idea. Oh, Dr. Deming loves Oli and Frida jokes. So, Oli and Sven,
Sven and Oli, yeah.
they went to the bakery. And Sven took 3 buns and he put them in his pocket. And Sven says to Oli, "That took a lot of skill. The baker never saw me put those 3 in my pocket." And Oli says, "Oh, Sven, that's stealing. That's thievery." He says, "I can show you how to get those 3 buns honestly and for free." "Okay, Oli, you show me." So he went over to the baker and he says, "Give me one of those buns there." And he ate the bun, and he did it 2 more times. Took 3 buns down, and the baker says, "Okay, Oli, where's the magic?" And he says, "Well, check Sven's pockets."
That's good. All right, who has a favorite dad joke that you want to tell? No?
I think you're all inappropriate.
Oh, yeah, all inappropriate. That was the only appropriate. Yes, we did get off color a bit. So, over the course of the last, 2 years, almost 2.5, you've become the king of joy. And that's kind of a moniker that you really embrace. And so how would you say your cancer journey has changed the way that you interact with people and the way you use joy? Has it at all, or?
A tremendous amount. And, I'm going back those days, reliving those days you said, and I can remember that the team, which was excellent. We had Dr. Deming and Dr. Wiebe and Dr. T and Dr. Freeze, thank God, with all those infections that I ended up catching. But what a magnificent team Mercy put together and served me, and they were all fabulous. But I got to tell you, the team, I said, I'd like to get a second opinion, and the team encouraged that, including you, Dr. Deming. I went up to Mayo, and I didn't get the same warm, fuzzy reception there. These leading pancreatic cancer doctors said, "We read the scan." This is exactly how we read the scans. There's nothing we can do for you. Go home. And they gave me, I think, 2 months, and said, hopefully you'll get some quality of life out of that. That's very sobering. But you're right. After that is when the team got together and said, "We're going to do a plan, and damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." And by the act of God, I came to the other side, and the tumors disappeared.
Yeah, and Tim, you have, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, chemoradiation. You have now been off of treatment
since January of 2020.
Yeah, so 1.5 years, no treatment, and scans everything looks good, cancer-free. There's obviously scar tissue where the tumor was, but it's been, absolutely a miracle.
So I think through that whole process, absolutely, just to be able to freeze time and gain some patience that I never had a lot of, and finding joy in everything I do, including breaking my back in the backyard weeding with my wife. And I do find a much more fulfillment, and I find myself reflecting much more and much deeper than I ever have in before cancer. So I think, having survived to this point on this journey, I don't want to say I was going to say it was all worth it. It was worth it. I mean, I feel I'm a better human being because of this journey in a lot of ways.
So one of the things I'm interested in is what each of you have learned about your family and about yourself in this journey that began, with this 2x4 over the side of the head of stage 4 pancreas cancer, and has over time turned into this unbelievable miracle of being cancer-free right now. And what have you learned about your family, and what have you learned about yourself during this journey with Dad?
I'm just going to start real quick and say that I never realized how strong Diane was, and what a rock.
Mm-hmm.
And the family support. Until it's tested, you don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I would not say that cancer gives you strength, but cancer allows you to find the strength that it's there. It's been there all along. You don't know what you're capable of doing until you really are asked to do it.
Right.
Until you reach above and beyond what you know you can do, you have no idea what you're capable of. So, I saw you just as a rock of support, and even though there had to be times where you were down and needed someone to listen and be an ear, whenever I saw the two of you together, you were that support, encouraging, giving him a dope slap when he needed it, and get off the ladder. You just had chemo yesterday and you're painting the house.
One of the things I realized about myself was that I was a strong person. I never thought that I was a very strong person, but I wanted to be for Tim. And even though there were times when he was on that ladder, I was standing right there, and, almost having a heart attack. But he needed to do that stuff. And, we have a big backyard that's, it's a hill in the back, and we have all kinds of plants, and it's hard, like weeding in that, because a lot of times you're on an angle, but that's given him so much more strength, and that it makes him feel so much better, and it makes me feel so much better, because I just see the strength that he's gaining every day, and that we do work well outside.
Yeah. Sitting 18 hours in a recliner and then going to bed for the other 6 hours doesn't do much to build your body.
Right.
Getting outside and getting some physical labor in.
And he loves doing that, and he does not like to sit around, but when it's time to take a little nap, he'll do that. But I think all the kids probably have gotten strength from all of this too, and could not have done. I don't know what I would have done without these kids. It would have, and not just the kids, our friends and our extended family. And fortunately, we didn't have COVID at the time that I could stay in the hospital with them for 5 weeks, and people could come and visit him all the time. And I don't know what I would have done with as sick as he was if I couldn't not have been there.
Yeah, that's become really a difficult thing where families can't come and visit, and maybe, for
Right.
compassionate exception, a spouse can be there, but the rest of the
Right.
family. So I remember the first pancreatic cancer walk that you guys did, and that was probably 2019. You were still under treatment.
Yeah.
But the team that showed up, I mean, not just your family, but the cousins, and then the friends, and the families, and the
Yeah.
huge amount of support you had there as your whole team. Team Timmy came together.
Yeah. And the prayers. I mean, just so many prayers.
Maybe
You know.
get the kids'
Yeah.
reaction to, what have you learned about your family, and what have you learned about yourself during these last 2.5 years?
Couple of things that I learned. One, just to echo what my mom said, without her being that anchor, that rock, that focal point, I don't know what a lot of us would have done, to be honest. I remember Katie posting a photo on some platform of him in bed and her just being there, just to be there. There were times where he would probably, you get a little aggravated with the tests, the surgeries and everything, and not be able to move, and he would be like, Diane, just go home. Just go take a break from me. And she's like, nope, I'm here the entire time. If you're here, I'm here. She would go home maybe to shower or, change, and then it would be right back. I mean, for the 5 weeks that he was there, she lived there too. And I mean, I think all of us were in a hospital more during that time than we've been, the rest of our lives. And the things that I can remember is, sitting and watching TV with him, watching Sven Gulli or, just old, Me TV. And those were great things. Those are things that I remember from when I was a kid and watching Nick at Night with them. A couple of things that I think we learned from each other. One is for me was just being able to kind of fall back on some of the family that I have. I think all of you can attest that I don't do that, or at least I didn't. And knowing that this platform exists, this foundation, makes me feel a lot more comfortable with, asking for help and things of that nature.
Kind of brought you back in to be closer.
Yeah.
To
Yep.
Your family.
Not that I was never outside the fold, but just that I could utilize that resource in a more, I think, constructive manner. I think my dad learned a lot more of the appreciation for the things that, I think we kind of got annoyed with. Are you picking up the leaves again? Do you really want me to get on the roof to vacuum? But this is what
I've heard that joke 100 times.
That's not a joke. That happened.
No. Just think of another thing you might.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he learned, and we did, the appreciation for these things, that these little maybe quirks as they were. The fact that he's able to get out and do that is makes us all happy. But I think, learning a little bit of humbleness too. My dad's a very proud person and very stubborn in some points.
Very strong, capable, independent
Exactly.
guy.
And I remember vividly when the doctor came in and we watched that video, and he said, you're going to have surgery again. And I have never in my entire life watched just the positivity just drain out of his face. And I
And this
watched
was surgery just to drain things. It wasn't
Yeah.
surgery to take the tumor out.
It was like a maintenance thing.
But even though it wasn't operable, there were many surgeries to get the bile duct and get the draining of the abscesses and get
Punctured
the
lung.
punctured lung. Oops. And the chest tubes. As we pass this around, Danielle, I'm gonna pick on you just a little bit, not pick on you, but you can pass the baton. But I remember one time during the 5 weeks that Tim, Tim is your father-in-law, and he was on the cancer floor, 8 South, and just down the hall a few doors was your mom, who was in the hospital with cancer, and you were there with 2 rooms that you were providing support for. Just maybe reflect a little bit on that time when you had both your mom and your father-in-law in the hospital at the same time on their cancer journeys.
Yeah, my mom was diagnosed 10 days after Tim with stage 2 breast cancer. And there was a time period, Dr. Deming's right, that I think it was Memorial Day weekend. We started, my mom was in the hospital, I think, 8 days that overlapped with Tim. And And so Sean and I, like Sean said, have 2 young boys. Owen was 7 months at the time, and Finn was 4, not quite, or yeah, 4. And I remember many, many times thinking, okay, we just gotta keep going. One more day, one more day, one more day. But I mean, there's, with the Neugents and with my family, there was never a question if we would come out on the other side. We had each other. I remember times when my dad was down the hall with my mom and Diane was with Tim, and so my dad and Diane would lean on each other.
They bring each other wine.
They bring
I
each
was
other.
going to say your dad would come over.
Communion wine.
Yeah.
Right, communion wine.
Yes.
And I remember too bringing the boys to the hospital and splitting time. Or one of us would take them home, and then Sean would be with his dad, and then go down to my mom. You know, it's just we made the best of it that we could. It never felt like we were doing enough for either of them, but we tried to manage it as best as we could. And I specifically, one of the things that I remember from Tim's time in the hospital, I think that, you know, like we were talking about earlier, when you're tested, you don't really know your strengths. And I think until you have, I knew that I was blessed with amazing in-laws, but until this time, you know, it really brought it to the forefront. And I remember waking up every morning and in a family text chat, and the first person to text all of us every morning, the family chat was, "Good morning, family, I love you," and it was Diane. And then she would give us an update on Tim and, you know, tell us to all have a good day, and she'd keep us updated because of whatever test Tim was having, because it was every single day. She would update us, but that it became, like, as silly as it seems, like, I know I got closer to Diane during that time, and it became something because it was so small and things at the time seemed so dark, like something I looked forward to hearing from Diane, and then it would just start communication amongst all of us, which was needed more than I think we really knew.
Let's jump over Katie for just a second. So Sean, obviously this is your dad, but your mother-in-law was in the hospital, so obviously you're married to Danielle. And maybe just reflect a little bit on that time. Plus, you both have jobs and you have 2 kids, and so it's not like you didn't have enough to do, huh?
Yeah, it was, I told Danielle during when Denise went into the hospital, I said, you know, there is a silver lining here. And she said, yeah, what is that? I said, they're both on the same floor. They could be in 2 different hospitals. So, I mean, we were at least being able to walk down the hall, so which was a lot better than trying to split up hospitals. So, but you know, if Danielle and I didn't have the foundation that we do, it would have been a lot worse at the time. But you know, we didn't always see each other very much every day, but you know, we made the best of those moments that we did. And I think something I learned was just the amount of people that you don't even realize have your back until something like that happens. And you know, I had a lot of people reach out to me. You know, work told me, go do your thing. You can go work from the hospital or don't work at all, whatever you want to do. And so I worked from the hospital quite a bit, usually over lunch breaks. And, you know, it was just, you know, I had friends that they did this cameo with one of the former Packers players and about my dad and, you know, staying strong. So I think just knowing that you have that support can kind of get you through anything.
Katie, what has you the last 2.5 years taught you about your family, and what has it taught you about yourself?
I think, well, I always knew our family was close, but I think this just taught us all how to lean on each other. And I think all of us are very strong. We've learned that from our parents, strong and independent. Like, I can do this. Like, I think being able to be vulnerable was something that maybe was new to our family. I don't think that we've always been vulnerable. I think we're just like, she's got it, you know, he's got it. But being able to lean on each other and doing those things and crying with each other and I don't know, just watching everybody and the way that they handled it was just remarkable in my eyes. And I think, of course, watching my mom and dad, I still like can vividly picture this picture I have of them. My dad, he had to take walks to, you know, get out of bed and things like that, and he had about 30,000 tubes coming out of his body. So he had all these machinery and stuff, but
There were 10.
10 tubes. And there's a picture that I have of them holding hands walking down the hallway. And like, to me, I don't know, tomorrow's their 49th anniversary.
Oh.
49 years. And so I think just seeing their love and like how it just made them even closer. They've been together since high school, you know, but you could see them become even closer. I mean, now he gets jealous of Teddy. So I think, I don't know, just watching all of that and watching us we're just a very, very close-knit family. And I think that, and I think one thing that I learned about myself, I now am getting more involved in the pancreatic cancer, with PanCan, yes. I am now reaching out, I'm gonna, talking to the lead person now and kind of deciding what group I want to work in for volunteer, and I think that has become a little bit of more of a passion for me, and raising money for it. And you know, I just was on a Zoom call and they were talking about how 22 million has been funded for research this past year, and it went up in the Department of Defense by 150% from 6 million to 15 million for pancreatic cancer research and things like that. And so I think that's gotten me even more motivated, and just the volunteers, people raising money, like us, raised over 10 million this past year. And so I think that I've learned about myself how even this horrible thing that happened to my dad, I think it's made me become more of an advocate for something.
Yeah, how to fight back.
Yeah,
Pay it forward.
yes,
And,
yes.
you know, use
Very
the
much
wisdom
so.
that you've gained to help illuminate others.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe before we pass the mic, so little Teddy, I got to meet Teddy. Oh my God, 6 months old. So tell me, you know, as you were getting ready to bring Teddy into the world, and with what your family had gone through, what were some of the thoughts in your mind about bringing a new life into the world?
Well, I think one thing I will tell you is that Chris and I struggled to get pregnant, and so we've also been through a lot trying to do that. And so when I found out about my dad, obviously Teddy was just a twinkle of the eye at that point. And I remember in the car on the way to my parents when he picked me up from work saying to him, I want my child someday to meet my dad. That is one of the most important people in my world. And I just remember crying over that. Like, but I want my child just like Finney and Owen, get to meet him and be with him, and I want that. So I think bringing him into this new life and getting to be with Pops is the best thing ever. And I think I just keep taking more and more pictures of the two of them. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to take pictures of both of them. But because you've been through something and you want to capture all of those moments. And I do think a lot of times I also think, oh, I'm really tired, I don't know if I want to do that. No, you only have so many days on this earth. Like, go do those things with your family, or go, you know, take Teddy to those things, or you just kind of reevaluate things a little bit too.
So tomorrow is your 49th
Yes.
wedding anniversary. So I want some reflection, recollection. Where was the marriage? Where was the ceremony? Who sang what songs? Let's see, 1949 would have been like 1973? 72. So I graduated in 1972, so weddings were like White Lace and Promises, and Carpenters. What were the songs at your wedding? Where was your wedding?
They had a party all day.
Where was the wedding?
In Milwaukee.
In
And we got married at Holy Redeemer Catholic Church.
Okay.
And my mom had a big tent set up in our backyard. And we got married at 10 o'clock in the morning because I
On a
wanted all
Saturday.
day.
Saturday
I
morning.
wanted all day.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so the neighbors, people made, casseroles and all that. And
The altar
we all-
society was all cooking. Yeah.
And then we went back to my parents' house and partied and then we went to the reception, which was at the Schwabenhof.
And what is the Schwabenhof?
It's it's a
German hall.
huge German hall.
German hall.
We had like 500 people.
Oh, and you got ladies carrying like eight steins of beer, Oktoberfest.
That one was
And
a
it
main
would-
plate,
Oh.
a big plate, and because they don't.
Raw beef with onions
And
and,
rye bread.
rye bread.
Rye,
That was,
okay.
yeah, I mean,
Yes.
big.
Their breath probably
And
smelled great after that.
it was like 95 degrees that day.
Do you remember any of your vows? Was it very traditional?
I do.
Or did you write your own vow? You remember the
I do.
vow? I do.
Yeah. No, we did the traditional
Traditions.
vows, for better, for worse.
Uh-huh.
Sickness
And
and
it's
health.
sickness and in health.
right.
Yeah. And did you ever imagine what that would mean?
No.
Sickness and in health.
No, we don't really think about that.
Yeah. Let's
You know,
just
we-
get through this. and
I mean, we were, I think I was 22 and Tim was we were young, so you just don't think about that,
You're invincible.
Okay, Tim, some memory that you have of that day that you haven't told the kids.
My wedding day. Oh, boy.
I'm not going to ask you about the bachelor part.
First, I have a question of Katie. Katie, you saw us walking down the hall and with our holding hands.
I know which,
With all the
Picture.
tubes and everything, our machinery, and I just want to know in those wonderful gowns if my back was done or undone.
Many a times it was undone, but
Yeah.
it was done at this.
You were inside and you could see the full moon.
So she was talking about that. I was reflecting that, the first week I was so modest and everything. By the second week, it's
Don't I
over.
remember in the hospital room, wasn't there like a bobblehead pope? down
Yes,
Oh, yes.
yeah, with the
Yeah.
sun, yeah, it had a little,
Sun, it was like a sun.
Sensor heat wave.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
solar.
Solar.
And so he'd wait.
So a memory from wedding day 49 years ago.
There are many. I remember.
Baby blue tux or?
No, I can't.
it was
No, it was
black.
Black
Okay.
tux, yeah. But I remember Diane had this long train, so this is pretty traditional wedding. And she wore that and all the beer slopped on the floor and everything. This train looks like it had been hit by a train. And I mean, it was just completely
disgusting.
filled
They
with.
put wax on the floors, on the dance floors and all that, and then people.
Did you
stood
do a dollar
there.
dance? Did you?
Yeah, I think so.
No, we never did
I was
that.
getting dollars. I
I see you were getting paid for the
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah, and the other thing I remember, and my dad, oh God, he gave me a lecture. I took her to a Ramada Inn downtown. They got nice places to walk, like the Pfister Hotel and everything. I never confided. I'm pretty independent, as you said. And, I took Diane to the downtown Ramada Inn. Little did I know that was kind of a creepy place. And not only did I take her there, she still had her wedding gown on. And oh my God, the people in the lobby.
Yeah.
I said, Diane, what's this? The roof. So there are many memories of that day.
But
And
your dad was not happy with you.
because he said you should take this wonderful girl that you married, now your wife, to like the Pfister, Why didn't you talk to me? I said, no, I'm a grown guy.
I'm 23. I don't need your advice.
But it was a great day, and her mother and father were just wonderful people, and it was a super day, absolutely. It's hot, like she said. But,
So, and now 49 years later, what's the key to a successful marriage? Most marriages in the United States that started in 1972 don't get to 49 years.
true, totally true.
You know, with that.
No, I really think it's being totally open and honest and candid with one another. And I think, you know, communications is primo. And I think that then as you evolve through life and have children, that dynamic stays the same, but the other dynamics come into play of caring for somebody outside of our relationship and growing that foundation that's already been stated extremely well by the kids. So I think those are really the building blocks of a sound marriage. And, you know, having a lot of things in common that we had, you know, we had our religion in common, and we liked doing the same things in many ways, and she even tolerated and picked up the game of golf on my behalf.
And then there's that whole Wisconsin thing.
Oh yeah, you know, both she's
Cheddar-heads, Packers,
Packer
yeah, all that
fans, Brewer
stuff.
fans, you bet,
Yeah.
Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, we got a lot of bragging
So
rights
maybe
in it.
split it to the next generation, and Brian, you're going to get married here soon, right?
Yes.
So maybe reflect on how you think the journey with over the last couple of years might have changed the way you think about a marriage.
Well, that for me, and I think, again, everyone can attest, it's been a roller coaster, to put it lightly. Lots of ups, a lot more downs, but I think a lot of the downs came from, not to a fault, but they had presented such a strong and compelling example of what a marriage and relationship should be, and it's kind of what I held myself to. Not to say that I was picky, but it's what I wanted. I mean, I had some moments where I was like, maybe I'm just a person that stays alone. That's possible. And I think what it taught me is to stop trying to, squeeze so hard, because the harder you squeeze, the more sand you lose. And I just kind of let life come to me. And I was fortunate and lucky enough to meet my beautiful fiance, who just couldn't be here today, and her beautiful daughter, and we just got engaged last week.
Oh, congratulations.
Super, we're very, very happy, and
We love her.
oh, Callie's fantastic, and she has even exclaimed that our family dynamic, our family bond, this relationship that we have, she's never really seen something like that, and she feels so lucky to be a part of that now. And with their model in place, I mean, that's what I hope to kind of bring forward for not only Callie and Marley, but anybody else on her side of the family as well. So they've set a good example, and we can only hope that we can live up to it just a bit.
Right.
Danielle, Sean, or you go first, Danielle. You don't have to talk together. You each get to have your own thoughts.
I think that kind of back to I remember seeing Sean and I had similar vows that I'm sure you wouldn't have, traditional vows in sickness and health, and you never think that that's going to become your reality. And I think that summer of 2019, for a variety of reasons, it was for Sean and I we have each other, and it became we need to look at we have to find the positives, and we have to set an example for our kids. And my parents are still married. We have great examples from Tim and Diane and my parents, and it just it wasn't even ever a thought. It's like, if I want somebody by my side through these tough times, the only person I want by my side is Sean. So we just lean on each other.
A lot of what she just said. But I think, Danielle and I have been together for 15 years now. So, we've been best friends forever, and, she's always been the first person that, I have come to. I mean, I don't like to cry in front of people. She's seen me during this time, she saw me cry quite a few times. But I think just having her there and kind of, she's all, like my mom is my dad, she's always been my rock on everything. But yeah, I mean, she also, I think it was that same summer that I broke my collarbone in a bike accident, so I wasn't able to lift our newborn
That was like
for,
3. We hit our 3 that summer.
yeah.
You know, things come in 3.
Wasn't able to hold our newborn for 3 months or so, I want to say. And she just was unbelievable through that whole process. And always was really good about if I, you know, as much as I try to be positive, if I lost sight of that, she would always boost my spirits. So.
Katie, some reflections.
Yeah, I think Chris is definitely my rock, and we had only been married not even a year when we found out about my dad. And so he just, I think it made us stronger because Chris just stepped up and he was like, whatever we need to do, that's what we'll do. I mean, I spent a lot of time at the hospital as much as I could too, and Chris is like, you go, and then he would come and make my mom and I leave, and he would sit and watch the Catholic shows with my dad. And so I think for me, I fell even more in love with my husband through all of this, and we've always said his parents have been together for 40-some years as well, and so, you know, both of us have a really great foundation, and they've set examples for us, and I've always wanted to have a relationship like my parents, and hope that Chris and I continue to grow in ours.
So I have a question for you guys. So, you know, there's Dad was going through a really tough time. You can't give him too much, you know, you can't give him a bad time. You can't really get mad at him, at least publicly. You can't yell at him. You know, he's got cancer. So now that he's out of cancer, has the relationship become more real? Do you still treat him with kid gloves? Did you ever treat him with kid gloves? I mean, I think there was a time when he was in the hospital, I was seeing just only happiness and light and love. And I don't think a real family is always happiness and light and love. There's probably some raised voices once in a while. And so have things gone back to normal? Is it a new normal with how you relate to each other? And you can take that question wherever you want.
I would say, I wish my husband was still here because Chris would say, stop babying your dad. So I think that I do a little bit with certain things.
Not that I mind.
Right.
You're still playing the cancer card.
I'm waiting for it, yeah.
Doug, could somebody go give me a beer out of the fridge?
Yeah, I think and I'll forever be like that. I mean, I am my mother's daughter. I think she's one of the most selfless people. Hope someday I could be like her as much as she's seriously the most selfless person. And I think I have a little part of me that just wants to do things for him instead of him doing things. I think we all kind of feel like that because he's been through such a rough road, but you have to remember, look at him, he's doing amazing.
I know.
Like, I just
Okay,
need to
but
like,
it's not even in the last 6 months. It's, God, Dad, would you just lay off? Would you? Okay.
Yes, going over to his house. So we've started moving around a little bit to either Katie's house, Brian's, our house, because if we're at his house, he does not stop moving. And we can't really have a conversation with him. So if we do have a conversation, we're going to have to help him with something.
So when he comes over to your house, he's not inclined to paint the outside of your
Right,
house.
right,
yes.
right.
Or okay.
It's more.
Yes.
Throw a few flowers in the landscape.
Okay. Hey, can I pick a few weeds? I noticed you had some weeds in the.
He did do that for us,
Okay.
a couple weeks ago.
We were going for a walk with Teddy. My parents and I were taking Teddy for a walk from their house, and he decided he was going to go. It was my mom's birthday a couple weeks ago, and we're trying to go, and Teddy has to eat at a certain time. You know, I'm like, we need to get this walk going because he'll want to eat. And we're like halfway up the street and he's still weeding in this flower pot. And I was like, oh my gosh.
So
Dad,
was it his
stop.
own flower pots or
Yes.
one of the neighbors?
No, he would have.
Okay,
he
didn't-
would have. But like, those things are super annoying.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think now we just kind of call him on some things for like, just not to set boundaries, but for him just to kind of be like, if you need help, let us know. You know, we can help you with some of these things. Every now and then he'll come, like he's called me a few times. He's like, hey, I'm going to come bring over some things, which usually means he's cleaning out and wants me to take some of my stuff back. And then he'll drop it off and he'll kind of, you know, dig his toe into the ground. I'm like, do you want to come in and play burger time? And then he'll be there for an hour playing video games, which is awesome, by the way. I mean, it's a new normal. It's modified, but now we just since we've been able to communicate so much better, we don't really have that problem anymore.
Mm-hmm. So let's look to the future now. Do you guys have plans as a family? I know that you get together every summer up at a lake in Wisconsin. You have a place, and so that's obviously always been part of your routine and will be part of your routine forever. Are there other things that you guys are thinking about that's making plans differently? Obviously, COVID kind of throws a monkey wrench into some making plans, but anything you think about the future differently now than you did 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, not that isn't with the kids though. No, I think they've said it, but I'll say it maybe even more clearly, is that between all of the birthdays now and the anniversaries and so forth, we get together more often than we ever did. I mean, it seems like we're together at least, it seems like almost every weekend, but if not every weekend, like every other weekend. And I really feel that brought the family closer together as well. And so we do celebrate everybody's birthday and everybody's anniversary, and that's a wonderful thing. And Diane and I are taking a motorcycle trip. I've been on a two-wheeler since I was 16, but I'm going to do a three-wheeler.
Okay.
And we're going to go out to the Fingers Lake in New York, go through Niagara Falls, and then out to Upper New York with a group of people.
Nice.
That's. But you know, I'm waiting for the kids to bring up that word Disney, and the right age for the grandkids to be able to go do that family trip. But I'm like a little kid when it comes to that.
So tell me, when your kids were little, what was one of the trips you took them on that you still remember? That's some memories that have that you,
Disney?
Disney's certainly one. Niagara Falls would be two.
Yeah.
Vegas was a great
Toronto.
vacation.
Yeah. I was going to mention Vegas.
Okay.
When they were asking Lisa.
Yeah, we did. We went to Vegas because it was supposed to be a family. You know, that's how
Circus
they were
Circus
advertising it.
Actually, because it was
Uh-huh.
advertised as a
Right.
family venue.
And I mean, Brian and a friend of his were,
17.
yeah, and you know, they walked into the casino and man, everybody just jumped in. You can't be in here, you know. And we thought, this is supposed to be.
Wait, this is
And
a
we were
family
sitting
casino.
right
I was teaching those kids crap.
Just gonna have a little shot of whiskey.
Yeah, but those are the
Yeah, those memories.
yeah.
And the lake. Every year we go up the lake.
Right.
We've done that from the time they're in diapers.
Holcomb to
Yeah.
Minocqua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be fitting to end with another joke.
Okay.
So
I think so too.
this will be a wrap then. So
Okay.
another joke.
I got several here for you, but this is an A rating program, so I gotta get my mind.
This is live. We have a live studio audience, and
Yeah.
I think there's 482 people watching live right
Great.
now, and then it's going to go onto the YouTube channel.
Yeah, good. Well, this is for you, Doctor. This is an Odie and Sven joke, believe it or not.
Yes.
Oh, it's hard to
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, sure.
Oofta.
So Oli, he needs to go, so he goes to the outhouse, and he drops 50 cents by accident into the hole. And so all of a sudden he took out his wallet and he threw that down there, and he took his watch, threw it down there. He says, "I'm not going in there for a lousy 50 cents."
Pa-dum,
But boom.
The King of Joy.
The King of Joy.
Tim
Let's explain real quickly. The King of Joy
Yeah,
is
okay.
that part of the journey was that God gave me a second life along with this wonderful team that I had assembled at Mercy. And I came to Dr. Deming in all sincerity, which is hard to do sometimes with this guy. And I said, God gave me a second chance for a reason. And I really, I'm helping kids or young people with mentoring business at Drake and at Iowa State, but I've been doing that before cancer. I said, is there something else that he wants me to do? That's the only reason he gave me a second chance. And Dr. Deming, he says, Tim, speak no more. I'm going to make you the King of Joy of Mercy Hospital. And so I said, yeah, I'd love to talk to people, if I can instill some inspiration, some faith and hope and courage and strength, I want to do that. So that's what brought on this podcast, and we had done one previously to it. And of course, COVID kind of got in the way to any interpersonal interaction, but I still welcome that opportunity.
Yes.
and want to do that.
Because you are a source of hope and inspiration and joy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you all for joining us, and this recording will be available in two places. It'll be at the Mercy Cancer Center website beginning later in the week, and it will also be housed at the Above and Beyond Cancer YouTube channel, the Above and Beyond Cancer YouTube channel, so you can spread the joy and have people watch this. And I look forward to having you guys join us next week for our next event. And you guys all go out and find some joy and spread the joy.
One more thing I want to say real quickly is that I am on the Mercy Foundation board, and I want to tell you that our fundraiser for the Deming Cancer Center is completed. We've raised all the money, and the first patient for the Deming Cancer Center is going to be January 10th. Congratulations, doctor. What an honor.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.